What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Headshot and thank you guys for joining us for our first ever 1911 review. Something a lot of you guys have asked me about doing, and I've neglected your request until now. Big thanks to Smith & Wesson for sending me one of their 1911s out to test and review for you guys. And today we're going to talk about everything on this specific 1911 variant. Pros and cons. We're of course going to do some shooting. Talk about all the specs, and really to make it a little bit more interesting, we're going to talk about is the 1911 still relevant today. In the backdrop, I got a Glock 19 and I have an M&P M2.0 45 compact, and we'll talk a little bit more about why those guns are here in a little bit. And to our Patreons, man, we love you guys. We thank you. And we have a Patreon-specific gun review coming out very soon, which is very cool. All right, let's go ahead and open up the Smith & Wesson SW1911. This is the E-Series. So this is not your granddaddy's 1911, but still a very cool variant nonetheless. All right, so out of the box, you get paperwork, you get a lock. You don't get one of these locks. I don't know how this ended up in here, but that's from Palmetto State Armory. We'll put that to the side. Oil-wrapped paper. Obviously, I already took it out there. Some other stuff. You're going to get the gun. All right. You get two 8-round magazines, which is pretty nice. So a little bit of a one more round than your standard 1911. And here's your other mag. You're going to get your barrel wrench or your bushing wrench right there. We're going to need that in a minute for the breakdown. Let's go ahead and get the box out of the way. Smith & Wesson is kind of weird on their boxes, man. You know, some guns like this one came in a hard plastic case. The M&P 2.0 45, although, you know, half the price of this one, a little more than half the price, came in a cardboard box. So you never know what kind of box you're going to get with Smith & Wesson. Not a really big deal, just something I'm pointing out there. So this is it. This one is definitely a little bit more modernized 1911. You have front and rear slide serrations. You have a rail. You know, you have some different things here. But let's go over the specs, the boring stuff, and then we'll get into some of the cool stuff here. So unloaded weight 40 ounces. It's of course chambered in 45. 1911s are kind of synonymous with the 45 caliber, but today in 2018, and they have been for a while, you have 10 millimeter, you have 9 millimeter, you have so many different calibers that these things are chambered in. 45 is not the only one anymore, but to me, a 45 and a 1911 just go together like peanut butter and jelly. So that's just me. This is the 5-inch barrel model. 8+1, we talked about that. Overall length is 8.7 inches. All right, so let's go over the features that make this gun really cool. So you have front and rear slide serrations. All right, the fish scale style serrations that I really personally love on the Smith & Wesson. These go all the way up, which I like. Coming back here, you have your logo, and then in the rear, you have those same fish scale style serrations, which are really nice, give you a really good bite into your hand, and pretty unique looking. Up here, you have a rail. This isn't standard for your standard 1911s, but this model has it. Rounded off trigger guard, checkering on the front and rear strap. All right. And one thing about the 1911 is how good it feels in the hand when you're shooting, man. It's just so natural, and that checkering, and it just feels awesome. Now, one little detail that I like, they have these laminate E-Series grips, and you can see they actually have that fish scaling in the grips as well, which is pretty cool. Kind of gives it almost like an alligator skin type of look. I really like that a lot. And then checkering in the middle of the grip as well. These grips look really nice. So this actually has ambidextrous controls as well, at least for your safety. Right there and right there as well. Really low profile to the frame. So as a right-handed shooter, where if this was just probably a little bit bigger, it would get in the way. And it may get in the way for some people, but for me, it really doesn't. Have smaller hands, so it kind of is a benefit. But sweeping that thing on and off is not a problem, and this side doesn't get in my way at all. Coming to the other side of the gun, you of course have your grip safety, grips. Magazine release, of course, is not on this side of the gun. Really good looking gun, by the way. I think MSRP is $13.99. From what I see most of the time, you can get these, you know, right around $1,100-1,200 depending on where you shop. Up here you have your anti-glare serrations on top, dovetailed front and rear sight. Peephole down here so you can see if there's brass down in the chamber. So they kind of carry some of their M&P line to the 1911, but in an elegant, you know, nice way. Now, as far as the trigger, we'll talk about that after the shooting part of the review. Skeletonized trigger and hammer. And yeah, we're going to talk about this trigger after the shooting part of the review, because the 1911, the triggers are one of the things they are definitely known for. Aside from that, build quality, stainless steel slide, barrel, and frame, which is really nice. And overall quality, it just really seems like it is a very well-built gun. Heavy, of course, but, you know, that's what you get with a 1911, an all-steel frame gun. It's just really elegant and just way different than the guns that we normally review, but just the guns that are out now. Even when you pick up something else in their lineup, like this M&P 45 M2.0 Compact, it's a really nice gun, but it's not the same. It is not the same feeling as having something like this in your hand. It's just something cool, something that's over 107 years old, and still around today is just really impressive. So slide stop, of course, right there. Drop the magazine. Magazines drop out freely. All right, which I like. And then racking the slide. It's a stiff one. Definitely a stiff gun, but once you get that hammer cock back, it's not bad at all. But racking the slide is not too bad, but when you have that hammer back, it is a tight gun, so just keep that in mind. This is like the mid-range 1911 though too. You know, you have everything from your Taurus and Rock Island up to Ed Brown. You know, it falls right there in the middle, kind of with the Springfields and the Colts. So it gives you a lot of bang for your buck from a well-known manufacturer. But it's going to be right in that middle price point, anywhere from $1,000 to, you know, I'd probably say, I guess, $1,400. This is a little bit of a step above some of those, some of the other models that are offered out there. All right, so breakdown here really quick. Definitely not like the polymer guns. Drop the mag, make sure it's clear, and then of course you got your barrel bushing right there. They supply a wrench for you, which is nice. And then we're just going to line this up. We're going to push the retainer in right there, and then we're going to slide this clockwise so we can get the spring out. So now I am not a 1911 expert, and we're going to try this. I've only done it a couple of times, and really what I found, even without the wrench on this one, it's pretty easy to move that bushing. So the easiest way I found, to be honest with you, especially here on camera, is to kind of push that thing in and just move the bushing while you're holding it, down like that. That's the easiest way I found to do this, at least on camera anyways. When I'm not on camera, it's a little bit easier. But we're going to keep pressure on that. And you can see it comes out like that right there. And then from here, obviously nothing's going to come out right now, so we need to push this back a notch to right there. We're going to push the slide stop out from the other side. There we go. We're going to pull that out completely, just like that. And then now the slide and everything will come off. And there you go. You can tell I'm not overly confident with this just yet, but I will definitely get used to it. And then of course we got the guide rod. Need to push that back up like that. Guide rod's going to come out this way. This is one of those things, man, you got to get used to. Let's pull the spring off of this thing first and then pull it out. There's your guide rod, all stainless steel components. We're going to push the barrel link down like that so it can clear. Make sure we're all lined up here. Kind of. Oh, we got to get the barrel bushing out. Turn it the opposite way. That bushing is going to come out. And then the barrel is going to come out. So we're kind of learning together here. Like I said, this is only my second or third time doing it. But you can see it's really, really nice construction. I mean, this is probably one of the nicest handguns we've ever had. I don't really see a lot of like marks from the factory whenever they machine these things. Just really, really high quality. Internally, you can see you got your hammer and your guide rails right there, all stainless steel components as well. So really nice. Putting them back together from the front. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take the guide rod. Fairly certain it's going to go like that right there. We'll go ahead and put the spring on there as well. Actually, we need to put the bushing in there. So really in reverse here. Put the bushing in there. Like that. Turn it back over to where it needs to be. Guide rod. It's going to be like that. Spring. Other way. Like that. Make sure the barrel length is up. We're going to hold all this together. Put the slide back on if we can. Just like that. And then we're just going to make sure it's all lined up. Try to clear that detent. Just like that. Push the slide forward. And then get the bushing back on there. Or the retainer, I should say. This, to me, is the most difficult part about this gun. And really, once we figure it out, how everything works, it's not that bad. Now, I say that, and I'm probably going to put my eye out with this freaking thing. You know, it's crazy how a few bad words and a little off-screen editing can really make a big difference. And I could have just skipped to the part where the spring's back in and it's all good to go. But even though that works pretty much every time, I want to be genuine with this review because it is, you know, my first 1911 I've ever really dealt with. So basically what I was doing, I was trying to get the spring retainer back on there, and it would only push down so far. It wouldn't push it down past the point of the slide where I can get the bushing down over it. Well, in the manual, which I didn't read, the open end or the closed end of the spring, let me take this off real quick. The closed end actually goes on there first, and once you do that, then you can get it on there the correct way. So a little bit more cumbersome, but really not that bad. Once you get used to this, it really doesn't take a whole lot. So we're going to take the retainer, we're going to put it down on there, we're going to try not to put our eyes out. And really, because this thing is so easy, I really found it easier with my fingers, to be honest with you. You're going to push that in like that. Push it down just enough. I'll actually try to use this time. Push it down. Probably going to end up fighting myself more than I should. Just like that. There we go. All right. So that was definitely a little lesson. So there we go. Let's head to the range, show you how this thing shoots. When we come back, we'll show you the trigger. We'll show you the weight on the trigger, pros and cons, and is the 1911 still relevant today? That's what we will answer at the end of this video. Stay tuned, guys. All right, we're out here testing 1911s today, and we have the Smith & Wesson 1911. I believe this is their Performance Center 1911 with night sights. Nice looking grips on here, G10 style grips. So let's test this one out at 40 yards and see how it does. What it looks like, that group is pretty good down there. Let's walk down there and see what it looks like. All right, a couple of these down low were from the Palmetto State Armory 1911. Most of my shots I was aiming up a little bit higher with this one, and actually did pretty good at 40 yards. No issues, none of the same slide issues that we're seeing out of the Palmetto State Armory one, but we're gonna have to run that one a little bit more and see what's going on. But this one right now is actually running very well. So we're going to take some more shots, but I want to show you guys how it did at 40 yards, and at 40 yards did pretty dang good. The lure of 1911s becomes even more clear whenever you take it to the range, man. This thing is a range beast, and we really had a great time. Both of us did. Let's talk about the trigger here really quick. The thing, it's just awesome. So as opposed to a striker fire system where you have the trigger doing multiple jobs, on a 1911, it's just doing one job. It's dropping the hammer, and it is clear whenever you shoot it. So not much take up there, and it breaks. And it's just so awesome. Reset right there, and it breaks. Amazing. Check the weight here really quick. Make sure we have the grip safety engaged, of course. £5 pounds, 14 ounces. Let's try it again. 5.5. Let's try it one more time. Or 5.5, I should say. Let's try it again. 5.8. Really feels like a sub 5-pound trigger, but because of that really short travel, it feels really good, man. This gun shot great. Did great at the range, no hiccups. That's one of the biggest complaints about the 1911 now, is it's finicky on ammo. But you got to think this thing was in service, until the mid 80s, and the only reason another gun took over is because, you know, guns got lighter and more rounds. But for as long as this gun served, or, you know, variants of this is a variant, but the actual 1911, for as long as it served, I think the gun is it's just amazing that it stuck around this long. And this one did great for us. You know, people have different experiences, but man, this thing is just an awesome shooter. Let's talk about pros and cons. Pro, first of all, the trigger, and not only the trigger, but the way it feels in your hand. Whenever you're firing the gun, you hold it up, you bring it to the target, it just feels really natural, and there's not a lot of adjustment, which is what I like. It is very similar, by the way, to the M&P, and the M&P kind of gets its grip angle, that 18-degree grip angle, from the 1911, which is kind of why I have these two guns up here, because without the 1911, we may have never seen those guns. It still influences the guns we see today, which is pretty cool. But the grip feels really good. I love these E-Series grips that they put on there with the fish scale style serrations. Just looks really nice. And the brown contrasted to the black, to me, just looks really good as well. Smith & Wesson sights, they always do a great job on their sights. Tritium inserts work really well at night as well, which is cool. The overall gun, to me, it's just an awesome shooter, kind of a classic piece, and something you can take to the range and have a good time with. almost teach anybody to shoot this gun, really. And then if you get one, especially like in a 9mm version, then you can really show somebody how to shoot one of those guns. It's just a great platform. Feels good in the hand. Grip safety doesn't bother me as much. It's just passive, you know, and as soon as you pick up the gun, as long as you're picking up the right way and you're not trying to hold it from down here, you're not going to have any issues at all. So overall, very impressed with it. The only real con I can see on this gun is some people might be out of that price range. I mean, I know $1,400 for one gun, it's expensive. But that's just the way 1911s are, you know, especially on the mid-range 1911s like this. And the weight, of course, you know, now you're talking, you know, so many years later, 40 ounces, you can cut that in half with one of your polymer guns and have more rounds. So the price, the magazine capacity now, the weight, you know, the slide, maybe for some people that could be a con. The slide, it's a little bit tough getting that hammer back, but you can always, you know, you can always cock it and then drop around in the chamber. But for those little things, you know, like I said, you know, a gun like this is 20 ounces where this is 40 ounces, but this isn't a gun you're really going to carry. And there are 1911 platform guns for those of you guys that really like the 1911. There are platforms like the P938, you know, and other guns like that, that you can still carry a 1911 style gun and have all the benefits, including that trigger. Now, to me, if this is a defensive gun, you know, that safety, because this thing's designed to be cocked and locked. That's how you carry it. And sweeping that safety off, I'm just not a big fan of that on a defensive gun. But to me, this is more of a range and showpiece, really. Definitely a range gun, though, for sure. This thing's awesome at the range. Now, is this gun still relevant today? I think it's kind of disingenuous to say it's not, because so many people still love and admire this gun. So many people still buy them. That's why manufacturers are still taking the time and money to make them, because people still want a good quality 1911, and something about a design that's 107 years old is just cool. So is it relevant? Yeah. Mainly because of the guns you see right here on the table as well, because it influenced a heck of a lot of them. And without this one gun, you may not have ever seen those guns. So there you go. I think it's awesome. I really like it. I understand why so many people ask me to review a 1911, and hopefully this is just one of many we will do in the future. So let me know your thoughts. Is the 1911 still relevant in your eyes? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. We will see you guys on the next one. And as always, hold them down.